looking to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. And joining me today, on today's headlines. The government is eyeing to acquire huge volume of coronavirus disease vaccines for the third quarter of 2021, according to National Policy Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar, Secretary Carlito Galvez. The Prime Minister said Singapore has approved the Pfizer BioNTech coronavirus vaccine and expects to receive the first shipments of the shots by the end of December. Malacanang said members of the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army National Democratic Front, have no basis to accuse the Department of the Interior and local government of forcing local government units to declare communist rebels persona non grata. Farmers and micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MISMES, are urged to get on board with Deliver-E, an integrated end-to-end e-commerce platform for agricultural and food products.
The Deliver-E.
The government is eyeing to acquire huge volume of the COVID-19 vaccines on the third quarter of next year. That is according to National Policy Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. In a virtual briefing with presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, Mr. Galvez said the government has ongoing negotiations with 9 pharmaceutical companies in different countries. Let's listen in.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Magandang tanghali po sa inyo, Secretary Roque, at sa ating mga nakikinig at sa ating mga media friends. Sa ngayon po, patuloy po ang ating intensive na negotiation sa siyam na kumpanya na kasama na po dito ang Pfizer at saka AstraZeneca. So sa ngayon po, meron po tayong at least advance, nagano na po tayo, tinatawag na advance negotiation sa 4 po na malaking kumpanya at patuloy po ang exploratory talks sa other 5 companies. At nakikita po natin na talagang sa ngayon po may mga challenges po tayo. Unang-una, nakita po natin na talagang yung mga vaccines ay 80% po ay nakuha na po ng mayayamang country. But we are very hopeful na yung clarion call ng ating mahal na Pangulo na magkaroon ng tinatawag na equitable access ay ginagawa po natin. Sa ngayon po, most probably baka magkaroon po tayo ng vaccine ng first quarter, most probably March, and then also ang mga second tranches po naman natin is second quarter, third quarter, at fourth quarter. But we are expecting na yung volumes ng ating mga vaccine will be coming up the early third quarter.
Galvez said there's also a positive result in the government's agreement with China's Sinovac. He is optimistic to finalize the agreement early next week. And staying in the Philippines, Malacanang snapped back at Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon and the camp of Vice President Leni Robredo for claiming the government did not prioritize the COVID vaccine in the proposed 2021 national budget. Let's listen in.
Senator Drilon, Vice President, malayo pa po ang eleksyon, tigil ang politika. Paulit-ulit na po sinabi natin yan, no? Na tayo po ay makakautang na sa multilateral sources, sa bilateral sources, para po sa 72.5 billion na kakailanganin. Kaya po linalagay sa budget yan, miski utangin, kung hindi nasa budget, hindi po pwede gastusin. And I'm sure Senator Drilon knows about this already, having been a veteran lawmaker. The same thing goes for the Vice President. They should know how the budget works. Kailangan nasa budget, otherwise hindi magagastos, maski ang panggagalingan ay uutangin.
Sir, pwede ako makasagot kasi mas alam po namin
Yes,
yung
sir.
yung pwede po namin na sabihin sa kanila na meron po tayong apat na na tinatawag nating means on how to access yung funds. At ang po talaga natin na pag-agrihan po namin para maging transparent at saka talagang sure tayo na walang corruption at saka talagang very diligent na gagawin natin. Ang ating magiging fund manager at saka fund procurement agent will be ADB. So lahat ng vaccine ay doon po sa multilateral, which is basically lahat ng mga countries, ginamit po nila ang multilateral system. Hindi pwede po natin magamit yung 2021 budget kasi kailangan po ngayon pong December at saka January magsara po yung ating advance market commitment. Kung 2021 po yung gagamitin po natin na budget na nilaan po na 72 billion, we will be on the tailing end of the supply chain. So ang gagamitin po natin sa ating procurement ng vaccine para malaman po ng publiko ay yung $1 billion na inallocate po ni Secretary Dominguez na noong pang July pa po siya binigyan po ng instruction ng ating mahal na presidente to produce the money for the vaccine.
Last Friday, Drilon questioned why only 2.5 billion pesos has guaranteed funding for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines next year, when Congress authorized the executive branch to disburse 72.5 billion for the purchase of vaccines in the 2021 budget. Robredo spokesperson Barry Gutierrez echoed Drilon's statement, alleging that the administration has no sense of urgency when it came to the country's vaccination plan. Now, last week, Secretary Roque said the Philippines will be getting its supply of COVID-19 vaccines next year from 3 manufacturers: Sinovac, Biotech, Oxford AstraZeneca, and Pfizer BioNTech. He also said the country remains consistent that only safe and effective vaccines could secure approval from the FDA. 2 Malaysian ministers who should have been quarantining after being exposed to the coronavirus voted in parliament in protective gear on Monday, triggering an opposition walkout. Take a look. The politicians came into contact with COVID-19 patients earlier this month, but officials allowed them to partake in a key budget vote, provided they wore gowns, face masks, shields, and gloves. But the sitting quickly descended into pandemonium, with opposition MPs shouting out in protest and most deciding to leave the chamber rather than cast their votes. It's a black day for democracy in Malaysia because there is no rule of law, according to opposition lawmaker Xavier Jayakumar. However, as well as the Health Minister and Human Resources Minister, one opposition MP who should have been quarantining also turned up in Parliament in protective gear. The Parliament Speaker insisted safeguards had been taken, including having the lawmakers transported in an ambulance and placed in a special room, according to state news agency Bernama. He rejected attempts to stop the vote, and the 9-month-old government easily won after the walkout. Most MPs had already backed the main budget vote last month. A victory for embattled Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, whose parliamentary coalition holds a wafer-thin majority. But officials need to win several more crucial votes related to specific parts of the spending bill. The Prime Minister said Singapore has approved the Pfizer BioNTech coronavirus vaccine and expects to receive the first shipments of the shots by the end of December. The city-state joins a handful of other countries around the world, including Britain and the United States, which have approved the jab. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said Singapore hopes to have enough vaccines for its 5.7 million population by the third quarter of next year. Priority will be given to those most at risk, such as healthcare workers, the elderly, and the vulnerable. Vaccination could be voluntary, the Prime Minister said, but he was strongly encouraging people to get the shot. Let's listen in.
Set aside more than 1 billion. As you would have read in the news, the first vaccines are now coming into production. And I'm very happy to tell you that after studying the scientific evidence and clinical trial data, the Health Sciences Authority, HSA, has approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for pandemic use. The first shipment should arrive by the end of this month, making Singapore one of the first countries to obtain this vaccine. We also expect other vaccines to arrive in Singapore in the coming months. If all goes according to plan, we'll have enough vaccines for everyone in Singapore by the third quarter of 2021. We have decided to make vaccinations free for all Singaporeans and for all long-term residents who are currently here. So I strongly encourage you to get vaccinated too when the vaccine is offered to you. Because when you get yourself vaccinated, you're not just protecting yourself, you're also doing your part to protect others.
In other news, President Duterte approved the plan of the Department of Education, or DepEd, to conduct pilot face-to-face classes in select schools in areas with low risk of COVID-19 for the whole month of January next year. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the President and the Cabinet approved the DepEd plan on Monday night's Cabinet meeting. Secretary Roque also said the DepEd will coordinate with the National Task Force for the monitoring of the conduct of the pilot implementation. He also assured that the pilot will be done under strict health and safety measures and where there is commitment for shared responsibility among DepEd, local government units, and parents. Currently, learners nationwide study through the different distance learning modalities that the DepEd has set up: modular, online television, and radio-based instruction learning. Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul has urged the Thai people to strictly adhere to social distancing protocols and other health guidelines when celebrating this coming New Year. Mr. Anutin, who is also the Public Health Minister, said the authorities will not stop people from organizing or even participating in celebrations and countdown events. But he said people will be required to strictly observe restrictions. The anti-pandemic measures call for all people to have their body temperature checked for fever, wear face masks, wash their hands with alcoholic gel, and literally keep a distance among themselves. On Sunday, authorities said that the country confirmed 17 new COVID-19 cases over the past 24 hours, bringing the nationwide caseloads to 4,209. And Thailand has so far registered 3,923 recoveries and 60 deaths. Contact tracing teams, a multi-department entity which is responsible for tracking the 40 people and when they came into contact in the November 28 community incident in Cambodia, are now said to have shifted their focus from contact tracing for other positive cases to hunt down the still invisible super spreader. Now, these two infected by the super spreader, who thus far remains elusive, are Chinem Sonita, who's 30 years old, and Tang Sevenup, 42 years old. The MOH said they may be the first sources of the community transmission after they had been in contact with an imported case in October. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, comprehensive case investigation and contact tracing are crucial to prevent community spread of the coronavirus. In Cambodia, basic but effective technology was used to track down possible cases such as mobile phone location apps. Now, the global COVID-19 deaths reached 1.6 million on Saturday. That is according to the Center for Systems Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University. The global death toll rose to more than 1,600,000, with a total of more than 71.4 million cases, or over 72 million cases worldwide, according to these data. Now, the United States remains the worst-hit nation with 15,939,022 cases and 296,656 deaths, accounting for more than 18% of the global death toll. Brazil recorded 180,437 deaths, just shy of the U.S. death toll. India has the world's third largest fatalities of 142,628 and the second largest caseload of more than 9.8 million. Countries with over 50,000 fatalities also include Mexico, Britain, Italy, France, and Iran. Global COVID-19 deaths reached the grim milestone of 1 million last September 28 and have since then increased at a quicker pace than ever before. And the United Nations is requesting Vietnam to deploy some COVID-19 testing centers in South Sudan. Eliana Faith Sebastian joins us live from Vietnam. Hello, Eliana.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Here is the latest update from VN Express International. The United Nations asks Vietnam for testing centers to be deployed in South Sudan. In the latest, in a meeting conducted last Friday between Vietnam's Department of Peacekeeping Operations and the Vietnamese People's Army, as well as other agencies related to the Ministry of National Defense, the UN has requested Vietnam to deploy a COVID-19 testing center to South Sudan as it successfully controlled the spread of the virus, with the aim to raise UN's capability to combat COVID-19 across the area overseen by the United Nations mission in South Sudan. This testing center would be of great help. Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc was urged by the Defense Ministry to give UN's request the green light in order to support South Sudan with medical equipment manufactured by Vietnam. Government news portal reported that this would further strengthen the relationship between the two countries, as well as to encourage the local peacekeeping forces in the country. According to Deputy Chief of Staff of Vietnamese People's Army Phuong Si Tan, the United Nations mission in South Sudan has helped to greatly improve its mission in the COVID-19 response. Vietnamese peacekeeping forces at the UN mission in Central African Republic have also provided free face masks to those locals and employees involved in the mission. Since 2014, the official participation of Vietnam in UN peacekeeping operations had begun, and in October 2018, a field hospital was built for the UN mission in South Sudan, and the second one was established in November just the previous year. In addition, they have also deployed military officers and staff from the Defense Ministry since 2014. And for the COVID-19 update, Vietnam currently has 1,397 reported cases so far, with 118 of it being active. And these are majority of imported cases. And Vietnam has reported of 0 community transmissions for the last 2 weeks. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Eliana, for your updates there in Vietnam. Looking forward for more. You stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alma, reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. This is Eliana Faith Sebastian, and we live in interesting times.
Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net 25.
buwis buhay, nakakaba talaga.
Nabuhay yung aking dugo. Dito sa talisan ng galing, paangat ng paangat ang level ng mga contestant.
Panibagong set ng mga bagong dancers ang maglalaban-laban para sa huling spot ngayong December monthly finals. Check this out. Yeah. I want you wait. Little mama, show me how you move it.
Welcome back. A blast rocked the Singapore-flagged oil tanker at the Saudi port of Jeddah Monday, with the kingdom saying it was struck by an explosive-laden boat in a terrorist assault. All 22 sailors aboard the tanker BW Ryan escaped unhurt after the blast struck just after midnight, Singapore-based shipping company Hafnia said, but it didn't exclude the possibility of an oil spill. No group has so far claimed responsibility for what marks the latest in a string of attacks on Saudi energy sector targets. But it also comes as Iran-backed Houthi rebels in neighboring Yemen step up cross-border strikes against Saudi Arabia. The incident comes after an explosion last month rocked a Greek-operated oil tanker docked at the southern Saudi port of Shuqaiq, an attack that a Riyadh-led military coalition blamed on Yemen's Houthi rebels. Saudi Arabia is stuck in a military quagmire in Yemen, which has been locked in conflict since the rebels took control of the capital Sana'a in 2014 and went on to seize much of the north. Now, Riyadh led a coalition that intervened to support the internationally recognized government the following year. But the conflict has shown no real signs of abating since. Saudi Arabia has repeatedly accused regional rival Iran of supplying sophisticated weapons to the Houthis, a charge Tehran denies. A bill providing enhanced protection, security, and benefits for media workers hurdled second reading approval at the House of Representatives here in the Philippines. Take a look. During Monday's plenary session, the chamber passed via voice vote House Bill 8140, or the proposed Media Workers Welfare Act. The bill aims to ensure that media workers shall, at the minimum, be paid the wages, allowances, and benefits provided by law to workers. Media workers shall be covered by the Social Security System, the Home Development Mutual Fund, or the Pag-ibig Fund, and the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation upon employment. Employers shall also provide additional insurance coverage to media workers, including the death benefit of 200,000 pesos, disability benefit of 200,000, and medical insurance benefit of 100,000 pesos. It guarantees security of tenure to media workers after the probationary work period of 6 months of continuous work. Meanwhile, Malacanang on Monday said members of the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army National Democratic Front have no basis to accuse the Department of the Interior and local government of forcing local government units to declare communist rebels persona non grata. In a palace press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said LGUs did not need to be forced to do anything since nobody supported terrorists in the first place. Take a look.
Talagang wala pong basihan yung ganyang paratang laban sa DILG. Unang-una, hindi naman po DILG at mga LGUs ang nagdedeklara sa kanila na persona non grata. Ang unang-una, US State Department, ang tawag nga nila sa CPP-NBA, terorista. Okay, kung ikay terorista, i-welcome mo pa ba sila? Huwag silang magalit sa mga LGU na nagparatang na sila ay persona non grata dahil in this civilized world, wala po talagang humahanga sa mga terorista. Kaya kayo, ibaba nyo ng inyong armas, magtutok na lang kayo sa parliamentary struggle, nahahalal naman kayo sa Kongreso, damihan yung hanay nyo ron, nang sa ganun magkaroon ng pagbabago. Tigil na po yung patayan, lalong-lalo na kung papatayin nyo naman, kapwa nyong mahirap na Pilipino rin.
The DILG earlier said a total of 1,546 LGUs nationwide have declared the CPP, NBA, NPA, NDF persona non grata in their localities. Now, in response, the CPP released a statement, and it said that the said LGUs were merely forced to pass the declaration. Otherwise, their budget would be withheld. He said the CPP's attempt to connect the persona non grata issue to budget allocation for LGUs is straight out of a teleserye television series narrative. From the crowded camps of Bangladesh, the Rohingya refugees take a dangerous and sometimes deadly trip by land and water as they try to reach Malaysia. Now, an investigation over several months pieced together the complex network of traffickers, fishermen, and police that opened the dangerous passage toward a new life. Let's take a look.
দেখুন মরিরা গৈ হন তারা তুলিওরে বাদে মরিগনে সাইরে ngri নিয়াই সাইরে মানে মরিগনে সাইরে মরিদাল 2 কিলো মানে দরিওরে তো জামাদের মালাই দি বেশি মরবার তো আরা সাদিনে কে দুমা আরা হাদিরে উদা ফলাই উদিয়ে মতন মগর লাডিলে রে মানি ততলবার বুঠুলে লামিরে বেল রে মিশিংর বেল আছে তে বেল রে লামিরে মোর পাইন্দর হেডে 100 হাতল লামা দিয়ে মাইমন্দারে 100 হাতল লামা দি লামা দনর পরে মাইমন নিজাম গিয়ে মোর পাইন্দে তো বেশি উদর মোর পাইন্দরে মানি হে দরমাল লাডিলে বাজেতি হামলা করি তারা নইলে সময় দিব নইলে আর মারি ফেলাইব আর একটা হদ্দি মোর পাইন্দে হদ্দি নইলে আর মারি ফেলাইব নইলে আর হ্যাঁ মানে আর গুজারা দিকে আর মরা দিকে নইলে তারা হন কান কুল মারি ফেলাইব
আমাদের এই রোহিঙ্গা ক্যাম্পে একটা গণবসতি আর এরিয়া আপনি হচ্ছেন দিন রাত সারাক্ষণ ডিউটিতে এরা যারা দালাল বা চক্র তারাও পেতে থাকে কখন কে থাকবে তাদের নিরাপত্তার কথা চিন্তা করে রোহিঙ্গা ক্যাম্পের চারপাশে প্রাচীর দেওয়া হয়েছে তারা যাতে যেতে না পারে এছাড়া আমাদের বাইরে বিভিন্ন চেকপোস্ট আছে প্রতিনিয়ত আমরা বিভিন্ন জনকে চেকপোস্টের মাধ্যমে আইনশৃঙ্খলা বাহিনী ক্যাম্প থেকে যাতে বাইরে অন্য কোথাও যাইতে না পারে
সেন্সি মানে আরগুন আর ঠিক করি ওরা মানে দিলা ঠিয়া দি ওরা দিলা ওরি মানে বেশ ঠিয়া দি ওরা হনো মানে সে কত অন্য ভরাবান করে মানে সুর হওয়া মতো এরিমবা গিলাম পানি সে দিন আমাদের পানি সে দিন আমাদের
কিন্তু সে সাগরে যাচ্ছে এখন আমি যখন বা আমার আইন শৃঙ্খলা রক্ষাকারী বাহিনীর কেউ যখন ওইটাকে দেখতে যাবে তখন সে কিন্তু দেখতে হবে মানে ভিজুয়াল হবে যে সে মূলত জেলে সে মাছ ধরতে যাচ্ছে সে বড় একটা নৌকায় জড়ো হয়ে ওখান থেকে সে চলে যাচ্ছে ফলে এটা আমাদের জন্য অনেক বড় একটা সীমাবদ্ধতা
আসসালামু আলাইকুম আসুন না
তো আর যদি 1 কোটি টাকা হলে বুড়ো ঘুরে আইও হলে লদাইও তোমার তো আর দিত মনে হর তো দিলে আর বাড়াই না দেখাইতে মনে হলে দিলে আর দিলে দাঁড়িয়ে যাই আর ফাইনাল লদাই আর বেশি হচ্ছে ভাই ফাইনাল না
Sehat bang? Alhamdulillah bang. Abang sehari-hari profesi nelayan kan?
इधर का तोरा फोटो वाला सारी
দেশে চালে পদর পোহাতে করিও মেরে কি করি বলা ফরস হয় না এটা হতো না দেখে রেকর্ডিং করতে না
ক্যামেরা করতে না ওই নাই করলো দেরি উনা হ্যাং করলো দেরি তে
মালয়েশিয়া আনে বলা নীল তুলি ফাইতে বলে লজা ফাইতে বলে বিয়া শাদি করে বিলতে দেরি হলে জানা হারে এ কোন ধরে গেলাম ভাই বাসের দেরি.
Dia ketika satu terputus, jadi lain tidak akan terbongkar. Nah, layer-layer smuggler ini sebetulnya dimulai dari Malaysia kalau kita mau lihat, karena kebanyakan dari mereka
পাইছি মানে দরিয়া অসমে যে দুঃখ দিন পাইছি ও কিরকম দুঃখ মানে ডালালে দে আর যেগিন শিফর সেলার আছে এনে দে দুঃখ সব দুঃখ ওখানে আর দুঃখগুলা বরদাস্ত করে কেন যাইতে পারবো ওখানে.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Back na back ang Way Back Wednesday dito sa Happy Time. Dahil bibisita ang 90s comedians, ang cast ng Backboys Takusa. Talaga namang star-studded ang masayang tanghalian, tutok na dahil Happy Time na!
Welcome back. Singapore and Malaysia are in talks over the twice-delayed high-speed rail project. A Singapore Ministry of Transport spokesman said that the talk still has until December 31st before officials have to make a final decision. According to a Straits Times report, the ministry was responding to a Malaysian news report on Sunday, quoting an unnamed source that said Malaysia is planning to continue the project without Singapore's involvement, and the end line of this, which starts in Kuala Lumpur in Johor, not in Jurong East. A Singapore Ministry of Transport spokesman said that both countries are still in talks. The HSR project was first announced in 2010 and was touted as being able to cut the travel time between Kuala Lumpur and Singapore to 90 minutes, compared with more than 4 hours by car. Now, both countries signed the bilateral agreement, a legally binding international pact, in Putrajaya back in December of 2016, witnessed by Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong and then Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. Malacanang supports calls to implement common health protocols to revive the airline and tourism industries nationwide, but remains bound by the existing legal framework. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made the remark after the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry urged the IATF to implement uniform health protocols for the benefit of industries impacted by the pandemic. Let's listen in.
Well, matagal na po yan kinukonsidera ng inyong IATF at pinag-uusapan. No? Sa ngayon po kasi, talagang meron po tayong batas na nagbibigay ng local autonomy sa ating mga LGUs at hindi natin sila po pwedeng paghimasukan. Pero tingin ko po, yung ginagawa ng mga Metro Manila mayors can be a model. No? Kung magkakaroon sana po ng consensus ang lahat ng mga mayor, ang mga gobernador para sa isang common policy, yan po ay makakatulong talaga sa pagbukas ng ekonomiya at pagsigla ng ating sektor ng turismo. So we are in favor, pero we are working with the existing legal framework.
In other news, Malaysia Airports Holdings BHD remains confident on the gradual recovery of passenger traffic at its airports, with another airline starting operations, along with the resumption of flights by other airlines. Take a look. In a statement today, the agency said its flagship airport, the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, has welcomed back Cathay Pacific after a 3-year hiatus last month. According to a Burnham report, Cathay is offering weekly flights to Hong Kong from Kuala Lumpur, and it's looking forward to the inaugural flight of Starlux Airlines from Taipei in January of 2021 or next year. Meanwhile, at the Penang International Airport, Indonesia AirAsia is also looking to resume its flights operations from Kuala Namu effective this month. With this resumption, AirAsia Indonesia will be the 6th foreign airline to resume operations at Penang. On top of that, local community airline Firefly will also begin operating at Penang as its second hub by introducing new routes from Penang to Kutching and Kota Kinabalu from January next year onwards. Farmers and micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MISMES, are urged to get on board with Deliver-E, an integrated end-to-end e-commerce platform for agricultural and food products. Now, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, officially launched the platform in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, farmer cooperatives, and the private sector partners. DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez said that Deliver-E will help MISMES, farmers, and farmers cooperatives sell their products directly to consumers. Take a look.
This initiative is about bringing farm produce closer to the buying public and cutting through layers of traders. This has long been a dream, a personal dream of mine, and I'm sure many of you out there. The Deliver-E is all about technology, innovation. Deliver-E will be a game changer, not only for our farmers and micro SMEs, but also for our consumers. This support is essential in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, which has adversely affected our manufacturing and agriculture sector. During the community quarantine lockdown, many of our farmers and micro SMEs had incurred major losses due to checkpoints, suspension of public transport, and other logistical restrictions. These impediments resulted in the loss of income and food wastages, especially affecting many farmers and micro SMEs in agri-producing provinces such as Benguet, Tarlac, and Antique. Overall, we estimated our country's economic loss due to the pandemic to be more than 2 trillion pesos. This is where the Delivery project comes in. DTI and DA worked with USAID to set up Delivery, an inclusive, transparent, and integrated end-to-end e-commerce platform for agriculture and food products. The main goal of this project is to increase our country's food production and ensure supply stability for basic necessities and prime commodities through new business models. More importantly, it will support micro SMEs, farmers, and farmers cooperatives by helping them to sell their products directly to consumers, and designed to increase the income of farmers in Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 2, Region 3, Region 5. We aim to expand the scope of this digital platform, and frankly, we would like to really institutionalize taking off from this project and really adopting this project in the government setting, together, of course, still working with the private sector. And this would cut out the inefficiencies of a traditional value chain by connecting farmers to buyers. Aside from expanding Deliver E, we also plan to onboard the beneficiaries of our One Town, One Product, OTOP Next Gen, and Go Local programs of DTI into this platform, as well as the agri-processors in DA's E-Kadiwa program, and together with our Discuento Caravan program of the DTI, which we worked again together with our brothers in the DA. Speaking of DA, we are aiming to align the Delivery program to the agribusiness support for promotion and investment in regional exposition, or ASPIRE program. I remember that this program is really a collaborative project of DTI, DA, and the PCCI, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On the agri sector, it's headed by our friend Bobby Amores. And this is to intensify agribusiness support for our farmers.
From the second half of January next year, short-term business travelers from all countries arriving in Singapore will no longer need to be quarantined. This is under the new segregated travel lane arrangements. Now, the Straits Times reported that the Ministry of Trade and Industry said that those who opt to use this lane will be transported from the airport to dedicated facilities. That is where they will stay and work. The segregated travel lane restricts movement, but it will let in business official and high economic value travelers from all countries as long as their stay is within 14 days or shorter. Strict protocols will have to be followed. Travelers under the latest arrangement will have to stick to strict health and testing protocols. They will need to stay within a bubble at segregated facilities. The Department of Tourism has lauded local government units for their efforts in reopening safe tourist destinations all over the country in answer to the increasing interest in travel and tour activities. DOT Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat complimented the LGU's strict implementation of their respective health and safety protocols, even as a consensus developed among the members of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases for uniform travel requirements that are within the existing omnibus interim guidelines. The task force at its December 14 meeting agreed to mandate clinical and exposure assessment for travelers, simplify and condense the pathways into 2 algorithms for inbound international travelers and interzonal domestic travelers, provide LGUs a free hand to determine appropriate protocols aligned with the omnibus interim guidelines, and enjoin implementing agencies to issue necessary supplementary guidelines. The DOT chief cited the vis.i.ta or Visita digital travel app currently being used by the Ridge to reef travel corridor of Baguio City, Ilocos Norte, and Ilocos Sur. She said this has proven effective not only as a contact tracing and visitor capacity control mechanism, but also for planning and research purposes. Ms. Puyat said standard travel protocols that the LGUs can adopt may include COVID-19 test before travel or test upon arrival options. The validity of the required COVID-19 test, confirmed hotel reservation with a DOT-accredited accommodation establishment, confirmed round-trip plane tickets, and tour itinerary with a DOT-accredited tour operator. Some LGUs also demand medical clearances and travel authorities. The DOT has deferred to the LGU's decision when to reopen their destinations. And next, let's go over to Vietnam, where the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam is reportedly going to fine up to $130 those who are maskless passengers on planes. Now, let's get an update from Mika Gwyneth Apostol joining us live. Hello, Mika.
Hello, Alma.
Hello, good to see you.
Here's an update from Vietnam Express International Aviation Authority to ask fine from passengers who do not wear face masks. It was announced last Monday by the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam that passengers without masks on plane would be charged up to 3 million Vietnam dong or $130.8 US. The CAAV directed airlines to firmly obey COVID-19 prevention protocols, specifically on the upcoming Lunar New Year festival. Airlines are required to notify passengers at check-ins and on planes that they would have consequences for violating COVID-19 prevention measures, such as not wearing masks or for not submitting their health statuses, in accordance with 2018 Civil Aviation Decree. Charges for violating disease prevention measures are between 1 to 3 million Vietnam dong, according to the decree. While Vietnam had no community transmission for 2 weeks, its latest streak of nearly 3 months was seized when a Vietnam Airlines attendant in Ho Chi Minh City was found to be a community transmission source of 3 other patients earlier this month. The country continues to level up its COVID-19 prevention measures, including mask wearing as winter approaches. Take Hanoi as an example. Last month, said those without masks would be prohibited to enter to public places, with officials ensuring people comply by these regulations, especially at hospitals, markets, supermarkets, malls, and bus stations. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Micah, for your updates there in Vietnam. Thank you very much. Looking forward for more. May I see you back tomorrow? I'll see you back tomorrow, Micah. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam, this is Micah Gwyneth Apostol. We live in interesting times.
Okay, next. Indonesia has invited Tesla boss Elon Musk to build a launch site for his SpaceX rocket in the Southeast Asian country, pointing out the benefits of a location next to the equator, according to officials. Jody Mahardi, spokesman of Coordinating Maritime Affairs and Investment Ministry, said that the cost of SpaceX's rocket launch will be lower because its satellite won't need any maneuvering to adjust its orbit to the equator. Now, President Joko Widodo officially extended the invitation to the world's second richest person in a telephone conversation last Friday. Indonesia's space agency announced last year a plan to build its first spaceport on the island of Biak, off the north coast of the island of New Guinea, and has been in talks with foreign partners. Now, Musk and Widodo, along with Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, Lohit B. Panjatan, also discussed the investment opportunities for Tesla in Indonesia, according to a press statement. The pioneering electric car company is reportedly eyeing Indonesia's large nickel reserves, a key component for its batteries. And finally in our news, overseas Filipino workers in Papua New Guinea raised funds for the typhoon victims here in the Philippines. Here's Echo Ortelesa Quinola for the report.
Amidst the ongoing pandemic threat in the Philippines, Super Typhoon Rolly and Ulysses brought another calamity and challenges to our fellow Filipino. A back-to-back fundraising was organized by the Filipino Association of Papua New Guinea, FAPNANG, to help the typhoon victims who were severely affected and were left homeless and devastated. Typhoon Rolly, which was said to be the strongest, and Typhoon Ulysses brought heavy flooding in various provinces of Luzon. The FAPNANG organizers sold tickets for Tindog Catanduanes or Rebuild Catanduanes and printed Bangon Pilipinas t-shirts and prepared sumptuous lunch buffet at the Airways Hotel. On the following day, a dinner benefit concert was held at the Filipino Clubhouse where a simple gig featured our aspiring kababayan singers and bands.
Okay, first for the Tindog Catanduanes or Rebuild Catanduanes, it is initiated by Sherlyn Molina from Catanduanes when the Typhoon Rolly, hit that place, that island. And then for the Typhoon Ulysses, we came up with this Bangon Pilipinas or Rise Up Philippines after we reviewed the video clips, the footages, and how pitiful the situation of our fellow Filipinos.
The officers of FAPNANG have arranged ways to deliver their help and support. The fundraising proceeds and donations from our overseas Filipino workers will be used to help the typhoon victims.
Okay, we have 3 projects actually. We have 2 for Catanduanes. One is at Airways Hotel and the other one is a high tea at Crown Plaza. And we have another one, Bangon Pilipinas. The aim of that is to help also all our kababayans who are affected of the typhoon after the strike of Rolly.
On behalf of the people from Catanduanes, I would like to personally thank the sponsors, the organizers, headed by Ms. Cecil Chibok, and also with the help of our officer, FATNG officers, who had really helped us come up with this and have this event successful.
These horrific typhoons brought forward traumatic experiences. However, as a way to extend our kindness using our skills and resources to help is indeed a noble and indispensable act which our fellow countrymen can benefit. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Echo, and that is the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. Join us again tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas! A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus.